Hello, I welcome you all to our panel discussion, Pleasure for All. Why pleasure for all? Loving and sexually satisfying relationships often add a great amount of happiness in our lives. When we are not in such relationships, we often spend a great deal of time and energy finding them. Experiencing a sexual pleasure is something you deserve and it is very important in our lives. But sometimes there is a hindrance either in finding a desire for sexual gratification or in the ability to achieve it. It is important to understand that sexual pleasure is something you deserve and it's often a very important thing in our lives.
Sexual dysfunction is basically any impairment in our desire for sexual gratification or our ability to actually achieve it. So now this form of dysfunction can occur in any of the three phases out of the four phases of a sexual response cycle. That is mainly the desire phase, excitement phase and the orgasm phase. And the last phase is resolution phase, but mainly sexual dysfunction occurs in the first three. So, in order to carry on the discussion, I would like Nikita to explain more about the desire phase.
Desire is practically a strong feeling of wanting something to happen or wanting something like you want to have something. Those feelings are called like desire. It's a very strong feeling. Everybody has that. Everybody has desires, right? So, coming to the first stage of the sexual response cycle, it is the desire phase. So desire, how should I put it? So in desire phase, basically all your sexual desires, all your fantasies, all your imaginations that you have, you think, that give you that excitement and that pleasure, everything comes here in this desire phase. In this desire phase, one thing is very important, that a person should have this want of like getting indulged in sexual activity or to experience or to respond to some sexual stimulation. That is very important. Now coming to the early model, obviously from somewhere it came, somewhere we got to know these are the cycles, these are the stages. The very first model, that is the linear model of sexual response, that was given by William Masters and Virginia Johnson in 1966. Okay, here they only focused on the physiological changes that a person goes through. Like they studied, here it is written also, they studied the 10,000 recording of the participants and their physiological changes were observed and studied. From there, we came to these four stages, that is excitement, plateau, orgasm and resolution. Then next on we have Helen Kaplan. In 1979, she came up with triphasic stage, model of sexual response. There she had these three stages: desire, excitement and orgasm. And you have to focus here that this was the very first time that there was focus on the psychological aspect of sexual response. And here where it comes, the desire phase that we are talking about, it was first introduced here. Now Kaplan viewed desire as a precondition for the subsequent sexual excitement, orgasm or arousal that a person gets. It's a precondition for that, and it also helps to maintain the linearity, the whole process of sexual function or the sexual intercourse. If we take for like example, it helps, like if you should have the desire to continue, right? If you don't have like you are aroused, okay, and then you continue to the next step, but what happens in between, you lose the desire, then the cycle is interrupted and you don't feel like anymore. A person may force himself to continue just to not embarrass the other partner, but later on it will obviously hamper the bond, even the mental health and other issues they may have. Now, as it is written here, the desire stage requires subjective enjoyment. So we all know desires, everybody has different desires. It's a very subjective feeling. You will have different, other person will have different, somebody will have like more heightened sort of, you may not have that level. So it differs from person to person. And as I said, there should be a, there should be a will, there should be a want that you want to even respond to that sexual stimuli. And you also want to receive, you want to seek that pleasure out of that. And other two pieces that were written, like the orgasm and the excitement, they were the other things that came out of the before linear model. Okay. The factors that influence our desire, right? Like you can divide it into like internal and external, and I have divided into 3 parts. Fine. There may be others also. So coming to the first factor, that is psychological factors. Now speaking of the psychological factors, everybody knows your mental health is very important, right? A person may be dealing with stress day and night, living a sort of lifestyle that has made a person kind of, lethargic or something maybe. He's dealing with everyday stress. His personality could be another one. We can take that. As than that, coming to the physiological and biological factors, here you can talk about if somebody is like facing some sort of illness, the person is already weak, right? The person is already weak to indulge oneself in those things. He's not thinking about those things because he's already so ill, he's so tired, exhausted. And here also we can talk about the hormones. Okay? So when it comes to the hormones, it is seen that adrenogens and even oxytocin, like adrenogens in men and the oxytocin plus adrenogens in females, are the main role players when it comes to their sexual desires. And dopamine also plays a part in it. Fine. Then come the social cultural factors. We can look at it like you are grown in a certain setting. Okay, you live in a certain household. Maybe you live in a household where they are very religious. They have this, you cannot talk about these things. If you have this thought, it is not right. Something's wrong with you. And as you grow, you will think that okay, if you're having this thought, it's very normal to have those. But you will end up thinking, is it normal? Is it right? Then you will doubt yourself, and even if that is very normal, you will try to suppress them. And obviously suppressing certain emotion will obviously lead to some or other like problems in your life, right?
So next we have the excitement phase, which is also known as the arousal phase or the initial excitement phase. It happens in response to thoughts, sensations or events that make a person aroused. It occurs as a result of physical or mental erotic images such as kissing, fantasizing or viewing erotic images that leads to sexual arousal. The act of excitement is different for different people because we all have different body which functions in different ways. So some people may get easily aroused than other people. Here are some of the things that people experience in the excitement phase. Increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, breathing rate, increased blood flow to the genitals, increased sensitivity to touch, an erection with those of penis, vaginal lubrication with those of vagina, enlargement of the testes, and tightening of scrotal sac. When we talk about about the excitement phase in males and females, in males, the beginning of the excitement phase is observed when the penis becomes partially or fully erect, often after only few seconds of erotic stimulation. The erection may be partially lost and regained repeatedly during an extended excitement phase. Both testicles become drawn upward toward the perineum, notably in circumcised males where less skin is available to accommodate. Whereas in females, the excitement phase can last from several minutes to several hours. The onset of vasocongestion, also known as sex flush, results in swelling of woman's clitoris and vagina. The muscle that surrounds vaginal opening grows tighter and uterus elevates and grows in size. The vaginal walls begin to produce a lubricating organic liquid. Meanwhile, the breasts increase slightly in size and nipples become hardened and erect. A survey which was done in 2006 found that sexual arousal about 82% of young females and 52% of young males arises or is enhanced satisfied direct stimulation, with only 7 to 8% reporting that it decreased their arousal. Vasocongestion of the skin, which is commonly referred to as sex flush, occurs in approximately 50 to 75% of females and 25% of males. It takes place separately in both males and females. The sex flush typically disappears after the orgasm phase occurs. Now, after excitement, there is another phase which is orgasm phase. It is the climax or the apex phase of the human response cycle.
Orgasm phase. So I would directly be talking about orgasm in males. So in males, the orgasm is felt as an intense pleasure in the penis and the pelvic area, which will last for 5 minutes. Most males groan with each squirting contraction, and males also has a refractory time, which is that when they have ejaculate or ejaculated, they cannot ejaculate or erect after some time, until some time has passed, and it varies from minutes to hours, and it also varies with age. Now I would like to show you the video for your better understanding.
In men, orgasm is considered the peak experience of sexual pleasure. As a man becomes sexually aroused, the blood gets pulled up in the erectile tissue of the penis. It leads to the erection of penis. The more intense is the arousal, the more erect will be the penis. As arousal continues, the penis cap swells. Muscular tension, heart rate and blood pressure increase and breathing becomes heavier. At this point, scrotum tightens and testes start to leak fluid. This fluid is known as precum and contains alive sperms. Precum also intensifies arousals and serves as lubrication. As orgasm approaches, body movements such as thrusting becomes rapid. The blood pressure, heart rate and breathing reach their peaks. Intake of oxygen also increases. When orgasm is reached, muscles of hands and feet begin to spasm. Then, suddenly, forceful release of sexual tension occurs. During the climax, rhythmic contractions of the muscles at the base of the penis occur. This results in the ejaculation of semen. Furthermore, flushing due to sex may appear all over the body. After orgasm, the body gets relaxed. A deep sense of relaxation, enhanced intimacy and fatigue usually prevails. The penis returns back to its normal size and colour along with other parts of the body. Before men can reach another orgasm, they need rest time to restore. This restoring time, also called refractory period, vary in duration and length among men.
The females experience orgasm that is accompanied by throbbing striated muscle contractions, especially of the two muscles, ischiocavernosus and the bulbospondylosis muscles, but also other pelvic muscles are used. Mostly females groan or moan during the contractions, so the major difference between males and females is that females are multi-orgasmic as they don't have a pearl. Now, I would like to show you a video.
For many females, an orgasm is an important part of lovemaking and masturbation. For it, an intimate and relaxed environment with sexual arousal is necessary. During sexual arousal, the vagina becomes wet and blood flow increases. The vagina becomes darker in colour and the clitoris swells. The labia gets parted and turn outwards. The uterus and cervix are pulled up and backwards into the pelvis. This makes the vagina longer. Heartbeat, breathing, and body temperature rises. Sweating also occurs. Furthermore, the skin starts to glow and the breasts swell. The nipples become hard. In some women, the colour of their face, neck, and chest becomes red. The clitoris plays an important role in achieving an orgasm. Mostly, an orgasm can only be achieved by stimulating the clitoris directly. This can be done with hand, mouth, vibrator and penis. Vaginal penetration causes the vagina to become narrowed, which results in more stimulation of the wall of the vagina and the clitoris. An orgasm happens at the peak point of arousal. The lower part of the vagina, the vaginal wall, the uterus and the sphincters around the anus and urethra contract forcefully and rhythmically. These contractions last for 1 to few seconds. The initial contractions are the most intense. Afterwards, the interval becomes longer progressively. In general, a woman can have about 10 to 15 contractions, which last from several seconds to a minute altogether. During the sexual climax, heavy sweating, goosebumps and muscle contractions in hands and feet can occur. Some women also make noises as expression of pleasure. After the orgasm, a feeling of relaxation predominates. An orgasm is a very personal experience, with or without a partner. Some women prefer to be alone after an orgasm. Others are still so aroused that they can have another orgasm. This is called multiple orgasms.
Now, as we all know that the main job of orgasm is to give us the pleasure. But what if I tell you it also has so many health benefits? So the first benefit is that it can strengthen the relationships. A study published in 2016 found that the effects of orgasm played a role in shaping partner preferences and building personal connections. The amount of arousing neurotransmitters and the potential bonding neurotransmitters increase during the orgasm, and according to this study, this information suggests that there is a link between connecting with a sexual partner and climaxing. The other benefit is it keeps your brain health good. There was a study conducted in 2013 in Rutgers University which says that when a woman is experiencing an orgasm, the subcortical and the cortical regions of the brain are lit up, which is equivalent to the solving a complex challenging muscle. And the third and the last one is that it keeps your pelvic muscles healthy. The same muscles are involved in Kegel exercises, and the same muscles are involved in orgasm. So it also keeps your pelvic floor healthy.
Men experience orgasm more frequently than men, and this is called orgasm gap. So, according to Harvey, Manila and colleagues, it was found that more than 90% of men experience orgasm, while only 50% women experience orgasm. Researchers from the Kinsey Institute for Research in Sex, Gender and Reproduction at Indiana University found that people of different genders and sexual orientation experience orgasm during sex with a familiar partner at different frequencies. Heterosexual women reach orgasm at a rate of almost 62%, while for lesbian women, 75%. Bisexual people reach orgasm at 58% for bisexual women and 78% for bisexual men. For women, sexual experience with a steady partner was positively associated with frequency of having orgasms. In Salisbury's and Fisher's study, women asserted that their orgasm was more of a bonus than a goal of sexual interactions. The final phase of sexual response is resolution, in which the person has a sense of relaxation and well-being. Decline in this graph shows the resolution phase in both males and females. So who do you think need more recovery time after orgasm? Men or women? Men. During resolution, the body slowly returns to its normal level of functioning, and swelling of the erect parts return to their previous size and color. Some women are capable of a rapid return to the orgasm phase with further sexual stimulation and may experience multiple orgasms. Men need recovery time after orgasm called a refractory period, during which they cannot reach orgasm again. The duration of the refractory period varies among men and usually tendens with advanced age. Next slide, please. These are the physiological changes in females. In females, the resolution phase takes 10 to 15 minutes, and in case of no orgasm, it takes half to 1 day. Sexual flush disappears in the reverse order of appearance, and inconsistently film of perspiration on soles of feet and palms of hand appear. Breast return to normal in approximately
approximately half an hour. In clitoris, shaft returns to normal position in 5 to 10 seconds. Detumescence happens in 5 to 30 minutes, and in case of no orgasm, detumescence takes several hours. In labia majora, nullipara increased to normal size in 1 to 2 minutes. Multipara decreased to normal size in 10 to 15 minutes. Labia minora returns to normal within 5 minutes. In vagina, ejaculate forms seminal pool in upper two-thirds. Congestion disappears in seconds or if no orgasm in 20 to 30 minutes. In uterus, contraction ceases and uterus descends to normal position. Cervix color and size return to normal and cervix descends into seminal pool. Myotonia returns to baseline status in seconds to minutes. Next slide. This is the male sexual response. Resolution takes 10 to 15 minutes mainly, with no orgasm, half to 1 day, same as in females. Partial involution, which is return to former size of penis, takes 5 to 10 seconds with variable refractory period. Full detumescence in 5 to 30 minutes. Scrotum and testis decreases to baseline size because of loss of vasocongestion. Testicular and scrotal descent. Have you heard of sexual afterglow? What is it? Meltzer defines sexual afterglow as enhanced sexual satisfaction that lingers following sexual activity. Some researchers suggest that sexual afterglow refers to the positive feelings that follow pleasurable sexual experiences, and some research suggests that not the sex itself determines how positively people feel about their sexual partners. Cuddling, kissing, and other experiences of intimacy after sex can increase afterglow, boost satisfaction, and extend the positive effects of sex on a relationship. In the study, post-sex affectionate exchanges promote sexual and relationship satisfaction, conducted by Emmy Lewis and colleagues, found that post-sex affection duration and quality were associated with both partners' sexual and relationship satisfaction. But the association between the duration of post-sex affection and relationship satisfaction was stronger for women than for men. The findings suggest that the period after sex is a critical time for promoting satisfaction in intimate bonds. By increasing duration and quality of post-sex affection, both partners' sexual and relationship satisfaction increases.
Thank you to all the panelists here. Okay. So now we will be focusing more on the prevalence. How common are sexual dysfunction? Why is it under the DSM-5 criteria? So let's take a simple case study of Mr. Bond's ineffective gadget. So, Mr. Bond, I am hoping some of you know Mr. Bond by his action films, but today we are making Mr. Bond reach to another level because he has erectile dysfunction. Again, he's another superhero. He's also a superhero if he has erectile dysfunction or not. But I feel he's a superhero. Agree with me or not? So, basically, Mr. Bond, after a very government servant, he is the only one responsible for fighting all the things in the country. Now, he developed some injuries. Went to his common physician. His family physician says, what has happened? Just tell me. So, Mr. Bond basically says that the one thing that I am not able to do is that I am not able to quit smoking. With smoking, I also sometimes take a little bit of martini by my side. Other than that, I just recently had a bypass surgery. It is almost in the verge of completion. With all these things, I am also feeling that I am not having a firm erection when I am having sexual intercourse. Now the physician thinks. Now he looks up into his medical history. What all happened? So he inquired that he also had sexually transmitted diseases before. Also suffered from some hernia surgery in his childhood. So with all this in hand, the physician comes to Mr. Bond and says, "Sir, I think we have a problem here." So he says, "What is it?" So he says that you have a vascular inefficiency. That basically means that all the factors, all the things that he was doing was contributing to a disease. So vascular diseases are basically, they disrupt the flow of the blood vessels. So as we know that for a penis erection to happen, blood flow has to be really smooth into the penis. But if you have a vascular inefficiency, this particular
India, but let's talk about United States first. It is designed to examine the social plus the psychological factors of various sexual practices along with the prevalence rate, done by Logan and Pudick, 1999, University of Chicago. The participants were 1,749 women and 1,410 men. The age range was 18 to 59 years. The results of the survey were that the experience of sexual dysfunction is more likely among women than in men. The stats show 43% in women, 31% in men. Moreover, sexual dysfunction is associated with very negative experiences on sexual relationships and overall well-being. Very interestingly, married men and women and those with higher education attainment have lower rates of problems. Well, I feel this is because you have a good sexual education with you. That is why this might be the reason. For women, the most common complaints were they have sexual arousal problems. For men, it was climaxing too early or erectile dysfunction that we just discussed. However, the survey had a criticism with it. Bancroft said that, you know what, these all stats that you mentioned are very overestimated. This is not the true picture of what sexual dysfunctions are. So with that, he did another survey, but the percentages acquired with it was same. However, one thing, to fulfill the DSM-5 criteria, we also have to generate a link between sexual dysfunction and having distress in it. That was Bancroft's wonderful contribution, where he said that almost half of his participants, and his participants included women, that half of them experienced severe distress. That was a plus point for this one. Now, do you have any research in India about sexual dysfunctions? Yeah, with a lot of Google research, I would come to one study published recently in the year 2022, which was by Chatterjee and colleagues. Quality of life, sexual health and associated factors among the sexually active adults in the metropolitan city of India, Kolkata. Now, the study basically says that the existing literature, both during and before the pandemic, tells us the importance of ultimate depression, anxiety and stress. But also, these all factors have a link to our sexual health as well. However, literature of the links between this and sexual health is even lesser in India. So that is why I feel it is very important for us to discuss and discover about this whole area. A cross-sectoral survey was done around it in Kolkata. The results were that excessive worry, excessive worry and decreased motivation because of stress can lead to a decrease in your sexual interest. For example, in males, a behavioral model says that if one is suffering from depression, it can lead to low self-esteem, that leads to lower self-confidence, that leads to performance anxiety, may lead to erectile dysfunction. So one way that we can explain this. Other than that, women reported very high frequencies of sexual dysfunctions in all phases of sexual response. The gender difference here exists because of biopsychosocial factors that include our sexual hormones, the sexual education that we have, and lastly, the environment that we live in. Is the environment very controlling and restricting that we cannot talk about sex or we cannot engage in sexual activity, or it is stimulating? And lastly, just to conclude, we all panelists agree here that therefore a view of sex and intimacy as a model of positive coping needs to be promoted in a non-prejudiced, non-stigmatized way. Also, when we were researching about this topic, we also came across that there were very little studies that talked about female pleasure. Therefore, we demand that addressing the unmet need of women that suffer from sexual dysfunction, as we see that the prevalence rate of women suffering from sexual dysfunction is higher. Therefore, the need to address this issue, and we believe it is in Europe. So this is all from us.